Warning: Armstrong Industries may contain adult and disturbing material. We strongly advise that it may not be suitable for young listeners. Thank you. At night, in Newcastle woods, the car with 3 teenagers inside parked up. There was music blasting. Male driving the car with a female next to him and a male in a back seat. They're overexcited for something. The man who drove the car said, "The parents will never find us enjoying our time, Ebony." And Ebony said, "Shut up, Riley. Kieran doesn't need to know." So Riley turned around and said, "Keep an eye out if the police shows up." Kieran miserably said, "Aye, fine." So Riley and Ebony got out the car. They ran inside the dark woods, with trees all over the place, while they've been watched. Kieran got out the car and wandered around the car park to keep an eye out for any vehicle passing by. Suddenly, there was a sound of horse trotting coming closer, really fast. So Kieran looked, and he sees a silhouette of a deer tossing the car away, and Kieran shouted, "Is that a fucking Bambi?" So he quickly ran in the woods, while Bambi from Twisted Childhood Universe chasing him. Meanwhile, one side of the woods, Riley and Ebony were kissing. They noticed some of the trees were chopped, and there was blood. Ebony said, "I didn't like this." "Riley, can we go? I'm scared." And Riley said, "Don't be such a baby. Someone just put a ketchup on there to scare her." Ebony said, "We gotta go. I feel bad for leaving Kieran at the car park on his own." Riley said, "He'll be fine. He's a big lad. He'll look after himself." Suddenly, a pickaxe sliced Riley's head off, with Ebony's jaw dropped with horror, and blood gushing out of Riley's neck where his head was. So the body falls down to the ground. Ebony noticed a Winnie the Pooh from the Twisted Childhood Universe chasing after her, so she runs. Next day, Lee and his team are in the black van, drove up to the woods. Oscar asked, "What we're doing in that woods like?" Lee answered, "There's been 15 people disappeared in that woods. The police have no idea, although the blood was found." Callie asked, "Has Gateway been opened around here?" Lee wasn't sure. After the van parked up, Lee, Callie, Norville, Oscar and Nadia got out and discovered the smashed car that was thrown last night. Lee had a closer look and said, "The mark of it's like it's been hit by a horn." Oscar said, "Someone must be really horny for the car." Nadia said in a disapproval voice, "Not now, Oscar. This could be serious." And Lee said, "Something could happen in that woods. Over there like." So the team walked into the woods with their guns out of their pockets. They pointed their guns at their surroundings. Oscar stood on a stick, and the sound of snap made his teammates jump. Oscar said, "Sorry." And Lee said, "We'll mosey over there," as he was pointing his gun at the right, where the rock is. So the team walked slowly while being watched, and there was a puddle of blood. Norville said, "I don't know about you, but I feel like we're walking in the most dangerous situation we've faced. Whoever we're dealing with could be anywhere in the woods." Lee said, "We must stay alert." Lee and Oscar looked to the left side. Nadia and Norville looked at the right. Callie looked at the centre. She sees legs like someone's lying down, so she walked slowly, and there was a corpse with half of his body chopped. There's intestines lying from the body. Callie looked away and coughing like she was about to vomit. Lee asked, "What's up like?" Callie explained that she saw a body, so Lee and Oscar looked at the chopped up body. Nadia and Norville turned up wondering what was going on and horrified what they're seeing. Oscar commented, "Fuck me, I hope we'll be badass at this." Norville walked ahead, following the trail of blood. He noticed the pots lying around with dark brown see-through liquid. He dipped his finger in the liquid and put it in his mouth and said, "It's honey." "Guys, I just found pots of honey lying around. Lee said, just leave it. The victim could have been beekeeper. There's a house. Let's have a deeks. So the gang slowly walked to the house. They got a feeling that something is about to happen. So Lee kicked down the door, and someone's inside, pointing a stick. It was Kieran, and he shouted, "Sorry, I thought you're one of them." Lee asked, "One of what?" Norval said, "Well, take a look around," with Lee replying, "Be careful." So Lee, Callie and Oscar got inside and closed the door, while Norval and Nadia walked away. Kieran said, "It's not safe out there. You can't stop them." Lee said, "Just calm down. I'm Lee. This is Callie and Oscar. Who are you?" Kieran said, "My name's Kieran. I've been here all night, defending myself. My mates are already out there. I haven't seen them since last night." Callie asked, "Who are your mates?" And Kieran replied, "Riley, and his lass's name is Ebony. We've been drinking at the club. Then we drove up here because Riley and Ebony still live with their parents. They wanted to spend time alone. They believe it's the best place." Lee asked, "That smashed up car that was tipped over, was that yours like? What happened to your mates when you last saw them?" Then Kieran answered, "They fucked off into the woods. They didn't come back. Then I saw a creature tossed our car over, so I ran as fast as I can and hid. And then I saw another creature walking past. I was shitting myself." Lee asked, "What does that creature look like?" And Kieran answered, "The one that tossed the car looks like a deer, like a horror version of Bambi." Lee wasn't liking what he's thinking about, and then asked, "What about the other creature?" And Kieran replied, "It looks like a man with a head of a pig." Lee looked at Oscar and Callie, then said, "That pot of honey we saw lying around." "Oh, fuck." Callie is really concerned and asked, "What is it? What's the connection?" Lee said, "That pot of honey we saw belonged to Winnie the Pooh. What Kieran saw is Bambi and Piglet. The ones from Blood and Honey originated from the twisted childhood universe. They finally assembled and came into our world, caused mayhem in the woods, and I've let Norval and Nadia walk in the middle of it." "Shit! We better warn them." Kieran shouted, "You can't stop them. They're too dangerous. They would have killed your friends by now. I'm sorry." Nadia and Norval looked around the field. Nadia said, "At least we're armed." Suddenly, there was a brief sound of creature. So Norval and Nadia wondered what it was. Norval suggested going back to Lee. Nadia agrees, so they both walk down the field as they're pointing their guns straight ahead. But then something passes behind Norval and Nadia, so they turned around and noticed Bambi, so they both ran while Bambi charges them. Nadia and Norval head around to the tree, but only to discover Winnie the Pooh standing in front of them. Nadia and Norval have no idea what to do, as they're surrounded by Winnie the Pooh, Piglet, and Bambi marching towards them. Meanwhile, in the house, Lee is having a meeting with Callie, Oscar, and Kieran, figuring out how to get themselves out of that situation and how to get the nightmarish monsters back in their universe. Lee said, "Don't worry, we'll do what we can do for your mates. We'll get yous home." And Kieran asked, "How?" "They're too dangerous. All we can do is hide from them." And Lee professionally replied, "No, we're going to fight together." And Callie said, "I hope Nadia and Norval are okay." Inside a big top at night, Nadia and Norval woke up and found themselves tied up to a chair. Next to them is Ebony, with her head bleeding, crying her eyes out. Nadia asked, "What the hell happened here?" Ebony sobbingly answered, "They've killed my boyfriend, and maybe his mate as well. They brought me here." And Nadia asked who. So then Winnie the Pooh, who's eating honey, showed up, alongside Peter Pan from that universe, who's laughing. Back at the house, Oscar explained, Winnie the Pooh and Piglet in that world want revenge on Christopher Robin because they believed he abandoned them when he was going to college to become a doctor. So they became murderers and cannibalized Eeyore. Callie cried and said, "Winnie the Pooh was part of my childhood. The Disney cartoon version. He would never do that." Lee reassured Callie that he's Pooh's evil variant. There's a friendly Disney version somewhere with Jim Cummings' voice. Oscar commented, "After Bambi's mum died, Bambi hunts a woman and her son. Mary Darling goes to find her brother, Michael, after Peter Pan kidnaps him. And then there's Pinocchio. Got pretty bad after being shown the outside world. It could be possible that Mickey Mouse and the Grinch are part of that world." Lee said, "There's no mention of Tigger, Owl, Tinkerbell, Hook, the Cricket, Rabbit, Sleeping Beauty or the Mad Hatter." And Callie said, "Stop, please. This is ruining my childhood. I want this to end." And Kieran said, "She's got a point. If you can help, please find my mates." Then Lee said, "We will. Ready?" Everyone nodded. But suddenly there was a sound of bang. So Lee, Callie, Oscar and Kieran looked at the door. Obviously there was someone outside. The door constantly rattled, but then it opened, and Piglet grabbed Kieran and dragged him away. Callie shouted, "No, Kieran! We have to save him!" Lee said, "That was Piglet. Come on!" So the team ran out, pointing guns. They heard someone moving, and Lee said, "I heard something. I'll take a look." And Callie said, "I'll need to save Kieran, Norval and Nadia and others." Lee protested, "No, it's too dangerous." Callie replied, "We must help them. And do you think those monsters are going to stop us?" Lee tells Callie to be careful, so she and Oscar walked off. Lee walked to find out where the noise was coming from. He looked down on the floor, and there was Pinocchio. So Lee raised his gun, but suddenly Winnie the Pooh is right behind him. Callie and Oscar have found the big top, and they can see Kieran getting dragged by Piglet towards it. So then Bambi showed up, all of a sudden. Kieran is inside the big top, seeing Peter Pan standing and laughing, while Norval, Nadia and Ebony, tied up on a chair. Kieran and Ebony are surprised to see each other alive. Kieran asked what happened to Riley. Ebony admitted Pooh chopped his head off, and Kieran was grieving. Piglet forced Kieran down on the chair. Winnie the Pooh drags Lee in, so Lee shouted, "What the fuck is going on here? How did yous get here?" So Callie and Oscar got inside, followed by Bambi. So Peter Pan explained about the blue circle he got through, and the next thing he found himself not in Neverland anymore, so he had to remake one. Winnie the Pooh planned to make honey out of people's remains. As Bambi watches Winnie the Pooh, Piglet, Peter Pan and Pinocchio preparing the tools, Lee, Kieran, Oscar and Callie untied the ropes from Nadia, Norval and Ebony. As they got off the chair, Lee was about to plant something, so Ebony ran off. Lee shouted, "No, don't!" So the monsters got after Ebony, while Lee, Callie and Oscar followed. They found a gateway portal, so Ebony ran through, then the monsters did. So Lee stepped in, and other side is the dark woods. It's Twisted Childhood Universe. Lee shouted, "Ebony, come back here. This is not safe." So Ebony ragefully said to the monsters, "You killed my boyfriend, and now you're gonna fucking regret it. I will be with him again. Go, Lee!" So then the monsters stabbed Ebony in the stomach, with Lee shouting, "No!" So he quickly ran through the portal back to his world, and it closed. So Kieran asked, "What happened to Ebony? You can't just leave her." Lee explained that she joins her boyfriend, so Kieran puts his face into both of his hands as he's grieving. Next day, few police vans and ambulance arrived to retrieve the bodies and took Kieran to the medical centre. Callie asked, "What's happening? How are we going to cover this whole thing up?" Norval said, "I've sorted it." Then Lee went on to say, Kieran will get checked out in the hospital, and then he'll go back to the with his mam. Poor lad, he lost his mate. Callie asked a favour and said, If you got Sam's phone number, call him. I want to meet the Disney version of Winnie the Pooh. I want to fix my childhood. So Lee put his hand in his pocket and he took his phone out.